They already hate you. Maybe it's because you're too loud or too quiet. Maybe it's the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you exist. Maybe they hate that you don't break your back for their approval. Or maybe they just hate that you refuse to be one of them. And that's the joke, isn't it? You bend, you break, you try to play nice, hoping they'll love you, but they don't. They never do. They'll find a reason, any reason, to whisper, to sneer, to pull you down. So why not give them a real reason to talk? Why not be exactly what they fear? No matter what you do, someone will always find a reason to dislike you. You could give your heart to the world, sacrifice your own happiness to make others comfortable, and still they will talk. You could do everything right, follow the rules, keep your head down, never step on anyone's toes. And yet, there will always be someone waiting to tear you apart. It doesn't matter if you are kind, quiet, or selfless. It doesn't matter if you play fair. There will always be whispers, always be eyes watching, always be people looking for a reason to pull you down. People judge not because of who you are, but because of who they are. They project their own insecurities, their own fears, their own failures onto you. They see something in you, something different, something they don't understand, something they secretly envy, and instead of confronting their own weaknesses, they turn their attention to you. They criticize what they can't control. They mock what they don't have the courage to be. You will be too much for some and not enough for others. Too bold, too quiet, too ambitious, too simple, too strange, too ordinary. It doesn't matter. No version of you will ever be enough for everyone. The harder you try to please them, the more they will take from you. And when there is nothing left, they will move on to someone else, leaving you empty, wondering why you were never good enough. You're going to get tired of being your own thing. Hate is not something you can outrun. It follows you whether you choose to stand out or fade into the background. You could spend your entire life trying to avoid it, shaping yourself into whatever they want, only to realize in the end that it was never about you at all. The fear of judgment is a cage, and most people willingly lock themselves inside it. From the moment they open their eyes to the world, they are taught one thing: conform, speak only when spoken to, dress the way they expect, follow the path they've laid out for you. Step out of line and you'll feel their disapproval like a noose tightening around your throat. So people learn to shrink themselves. They smile when they don't want to, nod when they disagree, and silence parts of themselves just to be accepted. This fear dictates everything. It shapes decisions, strangles ambition, and turns potential into wasted time. People hesitate before chasing dreams, not because they aren't capable, but because they wonder, what will they think? They hide their true personalities, afraid of being labeled too much or too different. They stay in situations that drain them because leaving would mean facing the judgment of those who live just as miserably. They trade authenticity for safety, never realizing that the safety they cling to is nothing more than an invisible leash. Everywhere you look, people are performing. They wear masks, play roles, and repeat scripted lines, all to fit into a society that doesn't care about them. They work jobs they hate, settle for lives they never wanted, and pretend to be content, all because stepping out of the cage is too terrifying. Because the moment you stop caring, the moment you dare to be different, the world turns against you. And that's the real reason people stay trapped. Not because they love the prison, but because they're too afraid to find out who they are without it. Fear doesn't protect them, it controls them. And by the time they realize it, it's already too late. The world loves a hero, but only when they can use them. The ones who always do the right thing, who give without asking, who sacrifice themselves for others, they are celebrated, praised, held up as examples. But look closer. What happens to them in the end? They are the ones who get taken advantage of, the ones who burn themselves out for people who never truly appreciate them. They are expected to be selfless, to give without limits, to bear the weight of others without complaint. And when they finally break, when they have nothing left to give, they are discarded, forgotten, replaced by the next person willing to be used. Meanwhile, the ones who refuse to play along, the ones who take what they want without asking, the ones who refuse to be controlled, those are the ones the world remembers. They are feared, called selfish, labeled as villains. But what does that really mean? That they put themselves first? That they refuse to be a pawn in someone else's game? That they chose power over submission? People love to hate them, but they can't ignore them. They make an impact. They change the game. Society teaches that goodness is about obedience, about waiting your turn, about always considering others before yourself. But what they don't tell you is that the game is rigged. The ones who wait, the ones who follow the rules, the ones who always try to be fair, they end up with nothing. Because in a world that rewards dominance, the ones who refuse to play nice are the ones who rise. And no matter how much people claim to despise them, they are the ones who get remembered. Fear lasts longer than gratitude, and power is always more valuable than praise. Being the villain isn't about cruelty, destruction, or chaos. It's about control. It's about stepping outside the lines drawn for you and deciding, for once, that you will no longer be shaped by the expectations of others. The world has a script, a role it wants you to play, and the moment you refuse to follow it, you become dangerous. They don't fear villains because they are evil. They fear them because they are free. Most people spend their lives chained to a version of themselves that isn't real. They are told who they should be, what they should want, how they should act, and they obey, not because they agree, but because the thought of rejection terrifies them. They let the world dictate their choices, suppress their ambitions, and silence their desires. And the worst part? They call it virtue. They convince themselves that playing small makes them good, that being agreeable makes them worthy. But deep down they know the truth. They are not living, they are existing. The moment you stop following their rules, the labels start. Selfish, arrogant, ruthless, uncontrollable. Because if they can't make you conform, they have to make you the enemy. They will call you heartless for putting yourself first. They will call you greedy for refusing to settle. They will call you a villain simply because you refuse to let them define you. And that is why true power comes not from seeking their approval, but from realizing you never needed it. You were never meant to live by their rules. You were never meant to be tamed. And the moment you embrace that, the moment you decide to own who you are without apology, the world will finally show you its true colors. People will call you evil the moment you stop living for them, As long as you sacrifice your time, energy, and dreams to make them comfortable, they will praise you. They will call you kind, selfless, good. But the second you dare to put yourself first, to chase what you want without asking for permission, their tone will change. Suddenly you are arrogant, selfish, a problem. It has nothing to do with right or wrong. It has everything to do with control. The moment you stop bending to their expectations, they lose their grip on you, and that terrifies them. They want you to live life on their terms. They want you to move carefully, quietly, always considering their feelings, their judgments, their comfort before your own. They want you predictable, because a person who moves freely, who takes without asking, who exists without fear, that is a person who cannot be controlled. Look at the ones who are celebrated, the ones who never step out of line, who live to serve, who never ask for more. They are praised, yes, but they are also overlooked. They work hard, give endlessly, and receive only enough to keep them going. But look at the ones who refuse to play along, the ones who take risks, who break the mold, who chase their desires without hesitation. They are feared, hated, resisted. But they are also the ones who rise. When you decide to live on your own terms, you will lose people. You will be judged, criticized, talked about. They will say you've changed, that you've become cold, ruthless. But all they really mean is that you are no longer under their control. And that is the greatest threat of all. They will hate you either way, whether you stay small or rise to your full potential, whether you whisper or roar. So tell me, why waste your life trying to be their hero when you were born to be something greater? Let them talk, let them fear you, let them watch you win. Be the villain.